Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to jump into one of the most powerful and maybe overlooked themes in the entire Bible. We're talking about the act of renaming and how it can be a tool for both incredible, divine redemption and for imperial control.
So, let's just kick things off with a big question. What's really in a name? I mean, is it just a sound we use to get someone's attention, or is there something much, much deeper going on here?
See, in the biblical world, a name was so much more than just a label. Think of it like a blueprint for a person's entire existence. It defined who you were, what you were destined to do, and even where your authority came from. It was your whole story, basically compressed into a single word.
And that means whoever has the power to change a name, well, they have the power to change someone's entire reality. This isn't just a symbolic gesture, you know? It's a profound act that can lead to either total liberation or complete domination.
As we look through the Bible, you see this play out with two very different forces at work, both using this power of renaming for completely opposite ends. On one side, you have God, and on the other, you have the empires of the world.
All right, so first up, let's look at what happens when God is the one doing the renaming. We can call this a covenant renaming, and it's all about an inside-out transformation that reflects a brand new spiritual reality.
Just look at these examples. They're incredible. God doesn't just hand out a cool new name for the sake of it. He takes Abram, an exalted father of, one family, and turns him into Abraham, the father of multitudes. He transforms Jacob, the deceiver, into Israel, one who prevails with God. And he takes Simon, a name meaning a flimsy reed, and renames him Peter, the rock. You see the pattern? It's a total declaration of a new identity and a brand new divine mission.
And here's the key takeaway, right? This is a covenant transformation. The new name isn't just some random thing, it's an outward sign of an inward change that's already happening. It's almost like a prophecy of who that person is becoming in him.
Okay, so now let's flip the coin and look at the other side. How did empires use this exact same tool? Well, it wasn't for transformation, it was for assimilation. It's basically a form of identity theft.
So, when the Babylonians captured Daniel and his friends, what's the very first thing they did? They gave them new names. And just look at the shift here. Every single one of their Hebrew names points back to Yahweh, the God of Israel. Daniel means God is my judge, but their new Babylonian names, they all point to pagan gods. Belteshazzar honors a Babylonian god. The goal here was super clear. Cut their connection to their god and completely reprogram their loyalty.
And this wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate imperial strategy, a kind of psychological warfare, really. The idea was to change their allegiance by rewriting their whole story. Because if you can control what someone is called, you start to control what they believe.
This whole strategy of control through names and titles, it was absolutely perfected in the political world with something called vassal kings. They were kings in name, but definitely not in power.
A perfect biblical example of this is when Nebuchadnezzar conquered Judah. He takes this guy named Mattaniah, renames him Zedekiah, and plops him right on the throne. So yeah, Zedekiah looked like a king. But in reality, he was just a regional manager for the Babylonian Empire.
And I love this analogy because it just makes it so clear. A vassal king is basically a franchise owner. You get to use the brand, you follow all the corporate rules, you send the profits back to headquarters, but you absolutely cannot change what's on the menu. The king might have the crown, but the empire is holding all the chains. Okay, so let's put these two big ideas right next to each other, because this is where you see the real theological showdown. On one side, you've got the renaming of God. On the other, the renaming of the world. Two very different paths, leading to two completely different destinies.
And this really breaks it down, doesn't it? God's renaming comes from an internal transformation. It reveals your future destiny, and it leads to freedom. The empire's renaming, though, that's all about external pressure. It tries to erase who you were, and it forces you to assimilate. It's redemption versus reprogramming. Heaven declares who you are, while the world declares who you must be. So when you boil it all down, it's this. A new name from God signifies belonging and freedom. It's him saying, you are mine, and this is who I made you to be. But a new name from the empire? That signifies ownership and control. It's the world saying, nope, you belong to us now, and you're going to become who we tell you to be.
And this whole idea, this powerful theme, it isn't just in a few random stories here and there. It actually frames the entire biblical narrative from the very beginning to the very end. It's a pattern that's woven right into the fabric of the story.
Right, when you take a step back and look at the whole arc of the Bible, you see this incredible pattern emerge over and over. It starts with creation, then the fall, which leads to captivity, but then comes redemption. And what's the final step? A new name, a new true identity in God.
And it all comes to a head in this amazing promise from the book of Revelation. The final, ultimate act of salvation is, you guessed it, God, once again, renaming his people. It's the final complete reversal of the empire's identity theft. It's a permanent declaration of who we truly are in him. And that's the ultimate promise, right? That our truest, final name won't be one the world gives us, but the one given to us by the one who made us in the first place.